Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Excited today to be back with our Tantra educator and our love and intimacy coach, Shastra, joining us here live on the show and the podcast today to talk more about Shastra, thesensualspirit.com. That's her website, and all she does with her counseling, with her breath work, and so much more. First and foremost, let me say welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Jill?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you back here. This is our third show, right?
Right.
All right. So today's topic is tantric communication. Why would you say that's so important?
Well, for several reasons. The Without that, there's no opportunity for each partner to learn how to be a teammate for the other. And it's just continues the unconscious sexual merging that happens year after year. So I always say, intimacy starts outside the bedroom, and tantric communication is like one of the first keys that I offer to a couple. And through my process, which I'll explain as we go along, just it's amazing that each couple finally feels more safe to be vulnerable, and being vulnerable is what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And being
Yeah.
heard, being understood. So, what would you say, is about the art of understanding when it comes to the opposite sex? I know you want to digress on that.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you really simple three feminine qualities and three masculine qualities, and then tips for
Okay.
men and women on how they can understand each
Okay.
other. So um for feminine qualities, I would say that the feminine essence or the feminine energy has a natural ability to connect to higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing is the feminine energy is much more a master of the physical body than the masculine energy. And
Okay.
that kind of makes sense. And so as a result, and one of the feminine qualities would be the ability to wait, the ability to surrender, and that just comes more natural. So to name three important masculine qualities that I feel are important are the masculine is naturally or can learn to be a navigator or a director in their relationship.
Okay.
And sometimes it doesn't come easy, but I always tell men, and some are shocked, that a masculine energy has the innate ability to monitor the moods of the feminine. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yes, I
And
see
so
that.
I know sometimes they don't know that. And so to penetrate her resistance, not only in sexual merging, but it's an art. And since the men don't know they have that, then, they just keep the same patterns going.
Got it.
So, yeah. So some tips for men that I would say
Yes.
is knowing that the feminine thinks deeper, goes deeper in each expression, is to feel into her deeper than she can feel herself. And
Okay.
that's a really deep comment, but
Mm-hmm.
the idea of it is, I mean, the main complaint I get from women coming to me solo for a session is that their male partner does not listen to them, does not tune into them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the beauty of this whole process that I've created in tantric communication is to give the male steps, step by step. So he doesn't necessarily have to be as deep as her, but he can learn how to bring her out, you know?
Perfect.
Um,
Interesting.
and then some tips for women being to exaggerate your sensual expression, to exaggerate your emotional expression when you're upset, because that automatically triggers something in the mind of the men,
Okay.
and they pay attention, they tune in, and to express like you're yearning, they need to know how much you want them, you know.
I agree. I totally understand. We all need to feel needed. So women also need to be spoken differently than to men, right? And that's a whole nother issue too. Would you
Oh,
say?
yeah. I've created a handout. I'll give you one example. It's like if a man is talking to another man, he'll say, "Great job," you know. But my one tip and suggestion is a man talking to even a female co-worker is always use the word you or
Okay.
your in the beginning, like "You're wonderful," or "Your performance was amazing." So, in other words, to
Hmm.
make it more personal, you know?
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So,
And how do men like to be talked to? I mean, right? Because there's two different sides to that. Most men, what would you say?
yeah, I mean, they like the more impersonal, excuse me, comments like, "You nailed it," you know, or "Great job," or, you know, just things that how men talk to each other. And now, as far as how a female partner talks to a male,
Mm-hmm.
I would say any sentences that show appreciation for him. "I really appreciate you doing
Mm-hmm.
this and that."
Okay.
And, just, I mean, men need to be appreciated. It's very needed and it's not done enough. So
Got it. And did you want to share some more of these differences, or do you want to talk more about holding space? And I mean, there's a lot to get to. So
I
I'm
know.
here for the ride. This is good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, it's ShastraTheSensualSpirit.com. If you are tuning in, follow her on LinkedIn as well. And it's Shastra. That's her name. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, let's talk about holding space. So,
Okay.
I always say that in a tantric communication, it's good to take nothing personally, but that's really hard to do unless each person has worked through their woundedness. So, for example,
Yeah.
if a person is afraid of anger, and his female partner gets angry, he's not going to be able to hold space. He's not going to be able to take it personally. So I teach both sexes how to do that, how to take nothing personally, and how to actually, so they're sitting together doing a
Mm-hmm.
dialogue, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so the listener, in holding space, should really send his whole body energy forward, give her eye gazing, notice the texture of her skin, how stressed is she, just really tune into her, and that will make him a better listener, him or her a better listener. And then, you know, now, sometimes if there is anger, the listener, who is really the person holding space, can say, "Okay, let's take a 10-minute break," because he's the director at that point, right?
Yeah.
And he can monitor her moods. If now men can be the ones expressing their feelings too, and women also need to learn how to hold space. So, yeah.
Got it. Well, also the importance of doing that. And what about the how to of holding space? Is there more to that you want to add?
The how to. Yeah, well, like I said, the excuse me, I'm sorry. So in the process, what happens is each um say the speaker, she's upset about something, but she does what's called owning. She goes, I own that, when this happens, I feel triggered. What I would rather have is, and then she asks him to help her with this problem. So that immediately empowers both parties, which is really beautiful. But the art of owning is we have to spend time with ourselves, right? And what are our blocks in relating to the opposite sex in a really quality, genuine way. So um so so yes, I use the nonviolent communication principles, just basic ones, and then I've created some other dialogues, and then I have handouts that I can give men who are, men are more, they think in the broader picture, so they need a step by step. So this handouts give them a step by step of how to hold space and so forth. So it works really well.
Got it. Well, also, I know you want to mention the importance of maintaining polarities, and then we'll get to the three types of Tantra communication.
Okay, all right. Um, well, as far as polarities, just keeping in mind that um, if we, to create in electricity, say we need the electric current, we need the magnetic current. And you can create electricity with two magnetic currents, but it's not as strong. So in the creation of humans on the earth, there was a really powerful electric energy, which represents the masculine essence, and a really powerful magnetic energy, which represents the feminine essence. So
Okay.
even if it's same sex
Interesting.
partners, what I recommend is just choosing a polarity, especially in sexual merging, and that keeps the planet alive, you know?
Yeah. Wow, I get it. All right. We got to keep things alive. And let's remind everyone again how we can reach out to you, Shastra.
Okay, my website is shastrathesensualspirit.com. And my email, please email me at goddess.shastra@gmail.com. And also you can follow me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Let's get to it now. Let's break it down. You say mastering day to day verbal communication is super important. So let's figure out, you got to kind of understand each person's communication style and get with that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, I came up with, roughly 5 or 6 communication styles. So, are you a indirect communicator? Are you a non-communicator? Are you a delayed communicator? Are you
Hmm.
totally emotionally unavailable? Or the best type is to be a direct communicator.
Okay.
And then, like I said, owning and then learning the art of surrender. But the beautiful thing about the process that I've created is it just automatically people move into the state of surrender. And they open up to each other like they maybe have never done in a decade, so it's pretty amazing process, and it's very simple too, and um, so that's the beginning process. The second area of communication, once the couple, or even I really encourage you as a single to come, and I can teach you this, I can role play with you, and we can do all of this on Zoom, and you can create so much confidence in, attracting the opposite sex. And so it's very easy to do. So after the single person or the couple has mastered the day-to-day communication, knows how to be more of a direct communicator, we move into sexual communication. So how do you talk to a partner about sex? And when do you talk to a partner about sex? So I always suggest that the best time to talk to a partner about your lovemaking experience, say the night before, is over coffee the next morning, and using only positive feedback, like
Okay.
saying this is what I loved about last night. And
Mhm.
also, this is what I would love to have more of, right? So it
Mhm.
keeps it positive.
Got it.
Um, yeah. And there's also a really interesting way. So I had a female client. She was having a lot of vaginal pain, and so I had her do a dialogue with her partner, talking as if she was the sexual center and talking out loud and saying, what is the nature of the physical pain and the resistance to, sexual merging and so forth. And it was amazing. It was, again, another opportunity for the masculine energy to really understand in a deeper way where the feminine is coming from. And it was pretty life-changing for them. And it was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So also, I have a journaling exercise that I offer, especially to women, seem to not really have any idea of what they want in sex. And so they can fill it out themselves
Okay.
with either like an erotic lovemaking date, a nurturing lovemaking date, or a romantic one. And they fill out, it's about a 2 or 3 page one, and then they just give it to their partner silently and don't say anything, no expectations. So the partner has the opportunity to fulfill the desires. So
Beautiful. All right. Well, again, so we have mastering the day-to-day verbal communication. Then there's that sexual communication, and of course, the nonverbal body to body. We're here with our Tantra educator and intimacy and love coach, Shastra. If you ever have any questions, go to the website, Shastra, the central spirit.com. But let's continue. Go for it.
oh, okay. So if nothing else works, well, sometimes we start with this. I call it nonverbal body to body communication. So I'll explain the different types.
Mm-hmm.
But so one thing that I can offer to a couple, even via Zoom, is teach you what is devotional touch, how to do
Okay.
devotional touch on your partner. And what that is a nurturing, non-sexual, very light touch all over the body, except you do avoid the genitals. So again, it's a really great opportunity to really get to know your partner's body in a more intimate, slow way.
Very
And so,
sensual.
yeah, and even our world is so stressed out. So there's a way to touch your partner's head and stroke his head that'll totally take him or her out of her mind, and which
Mm-hmm.
is really awesome, you know.
Yes.
And
I'm that
so,
person. I love if you touch my head and my hair, or like I call it tickling, right? Like I do with
oh,
my
really?
kids too. They're 6 and 8. So like just tickle like
Oh.
this, just touching the skin. It could be so amazing.
It's so cool. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, because in Tantra, the body represents the feminine because it's
Mm-hmm.
of matter. And so doing this, it just gets you in touch with why you're in a physical body, right?
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah. And so I created I call it nonverbal emotional expression. And I don't offer it to couples right away because it's very emotional.
Okay.
But basically, they sit in a certain position. The woman has her legs wrapped around the man, so the fronts of their hearts are touching and so forth. And then they shift their energy into their heart center and start doing deep breathing. So the person that is going to emote um, moves into toning the tone out of their heart on the out breath, and the person holding space all he's doing is just holding space. And so as, say, the female starts toning her, I encourage her tones to move more into negative expressions of emotional pain and trauma, because we hold these expressions in our heart. We have like layers and layers of protection in our heart. And sometimes I have to really breathe tone with them to encourage them to let go and to express negative emotions. But I had one Christian lady, and she had a new partner, and I taught them that, and she wasn't really able to get into it too much during the private session, but her partner was such a great coach, and she reported back to me that, wow, she had so
Yeah.
much to let go of.
Amazing. Amazing. What else?
Let's see. So tantric breath work
Mm-hmm.
always works. Well, that particular practice, does involve breath work, but there's different kinds of breath work. There's the whole body breath work. And once you breathe up into the third eye, nothing's going to bother you that much. So sometimes I tell them to do that for 10 minutes before they start their dialogue date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And let's see. Oh, in a couple more podcasts, we're going to talk about some pre-play practices that actually you start and stop and start and stop. And this isn't what I call, it's nonverbal, but it's a way to create consciousness, to feel more relaxed, to feel safe. It's really, really great. So.
And to have a full orgasmic body experience, right? Is that what you were saying
Well,
for
yeah.
next week, kind of? Yeah.
Next week's podcast, definitely. Yeah, it's a really fun, it'll be a really fun podcast. So I call it how to become a tantric athlete. So it's more the learning how to the physical expression of raising that raw sexual energy, but yet it does connect you with the higher aspect of yourself. So it'll really be fun. So
beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. And if we want to reach out to you, Shastra, I know again we go to LinkedIn, but also want to share the website and any other form of contact before we go.
Okay, the website is shastrathesensualspirit.com. And the best way, if you have any questions, is to email me at goddess.shastra@gmail.com. So
beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. As always, a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to next week's too. And thank you for helping so many men and women out there with all the practices and work you do. And again, you can work with anyone, anywhere around the world virtually, right?
That's right. Yes,
all right.
You got it.
All right, beautiful. I hope you have a great day. And of course, enjoy your weekend, okay?
Okay, thanks, Jill, so much.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.